Unit 36, Health and Illness. You'll learn how to talk about how you feel physically and how to give advice to others if they don't feel very well. You'll also meet a dentist. Exercise 1. Listen and check your answers to Exercise 1, then repeat what you hear.
1. D.
I don't feel well. My arms and legs ache, and I've got a temperature. I think I've got flu.
2. E.
I've got a sore throat and a cough.
3. A.
I've got stomach ache.
4. F.
My back hurts.
5. C.
Look at this thermometer. I have a temperature.
6. B.
I've got toothache.
'Exercise 2. Listen and read. Here are 4 different things to say when something hurts.
I have a pain in my back.
My back hurts.
I've got backache.
My back aches.
Exercise 3. Listen to and read these different ways of giving advice to others.
You should go to the doctors.
You ought to go to the doctors.
If I were you, I would go to the doctors.
Why don't you go to the doctors?
Exercise 4. What advice did you give those ill people in Exercise 1? Listen, check, and repeat the answers.
You should take some aspirin.
If I were you, I would take these cough sweets.
Why don't you take these indigestion tablets?
You ought to lie down.
If I were you, I'd go to bed and keep warm.
You ought to brush your teeth more often.
Exercise 5. Listen and read.
What would you do if you were ill?
If I were ill, I would go to the doctors.
What would you do if you had a headache?
If I had a headache, I'd take an aspirin.
Exercise 6. Listen, check and repeat. What would you do if you were ill?
If I had toothache, I would go to the dentist's.
If I felt awful, I would take my temperature.
If I did not feel well, I would lie down.
If I had a temperature, I would drink lots of water.
If my back hurt, I would call the doctor.
If my throat was sore, I would buy some throat sweets.
Exercise 7. Listen to the conversation between Alf and Joyce and put the speeches in the right order. Then listen again and check your answers.
What would you do if someone gave you £1 million?
I'd spend it.
You'd spend it?
Yes.
I'd save it.
You'd save it?
Yes. What would you do if someone gave you £1 million?
I'd give it away.
You'd give it away?
Yes.
Exercise 8. Listen and complete the sentences. We asked 5 people this question.
What would you do if someone gave you £1 million or $1 million?
If somebody gave me $1 million, I'd contribute 1/10 to my church. I'd do that. And the rest I'd use to pay off my bills and spread around my family.
I would buy a very nice house somewhere hot and have a very large studio and a boat.
I would spend some of it right away, and I would put some away for later, and I would give some to my children for their future.
Oh, I'd pay for my wedding.
I go shopping and buy clothes.
Exercise 10. Listen and read.
I have got a temperature. You have got toothache.
We have got blue eyes. They have got a new car.
He has got red hair. She has got a big house.
Have you got toothache? Has James got a new job?
I have not got toothache. She hasn't got red hair.
Exercise 11. Listen, check and repeat.
Natalie has got a sore throat.
Kevin hasn't got a thermometer.
Have you got a headache?
You haven't got a temperature.
I think you've got flu.
Have you got toothache?
Exercise 12. Listen and read. Practice saying these with the speaker.
What are you worried about?
What are you afraid of?
What are you frightened of?
I'm afraid of doctors.
I'm frightened of doctors.
I'm afraid of going to the doctors.
I'm frightened of going to the doctors.
Exercise 13. Listen and check. James, Julia and Carl are discussing doctors.
Don't argue, Carl. I'm taking you to see my doctor now.
No, I don't want to do that.
Why not? What are you worried about?
I don't like doctors.
What do you mean you don't like doctors?
Well, actually, I'm afraid of them.
What?
It's true. I'm frightened of going to the doctors.
I understand. I'm the same.
Oh, come on, both of you. Don't be so silly.
Exercise 14. Listen and read. James and Julia are trying to advise Carl. Then do exercise 15 and listen again to check that you have put the phrases in the right places.
Carl, What are you doing here? Aren't you going back to Germany today?
He isn't very well.
What's the matter with you?
I don't know. I have
A sore throat?
Yes, I have a sore throat and a headache. I feel off.
Have you got a temperature?
What do you mean?
Are you very hot? Do you have a high temperature?
I think you've got flu. You ought to see a doctor as soon as possible.
I think you should go back to your hotel and you should call a doctor.
But I have to be back in Germany tomorrow.
Carl, you're ill. I think you ought to stay here for a few days. What do you think, James?
No, Julia. He must do what he wants to do. Carl, if I were you, I'd go home tomorrow.
Exercise 16. Mubarak Samji, a dentist. Listen and read. If his patient is frightened, which treatment does he do first?
If a patient turned up who was very frightened, you would have to go through the various stages. First of all, I would try doing treatment with just a local anesthetic. But because people are frightened of needles, I would ask them to take a tranquilizer by mouth, which in most cases makes them feel a little better.
What advice does he give to his patients? Do exercise 17.
The advice varies according to age group. The advice that I would give to young children is that they should not eat too many sweets and they should regularly clean their teeth by brushing, especially last thing at night. For adults, the main advice is on the prevention of gum disease, in addition to the prevention of decay. And it is for that reason that adults should clean carefully in